Good morning, everyone, from all corners of the globe and around the corner of Alachua. It's good to be with you this morning. Today we'll be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd Canto, 8th Chapter, Text 5, 285. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayesha padreshu nityam bhagavati sevaya bhagavati utama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. All right, 285 for those just joining. Pravishta.
Did you put your mic on?
I did. So we'll repeat the Sanskrit word by word first. Pravishta. Karnarandrena. Swanam. Bhava. Sararuham. Dunoti. Shamalam. Krishna. Salilasya Yata Sharat Pravishta Karnarendrena Swanam Bhava Saroruham Dhunoti Shamalam Krishna Salilasya Yata Sharat Pravishta Karnarandrena Svanam Bhava Saroruham Dhunoti Shamalam Krishna Salilasya Yata Sharat Pravishta Karnarandrena Svanam Bhava Saroruham Dhunoti Shamalam Krishna Salilasya Yata Sharat Pravishta Karnarandrena Svanam Bhava Saroruham Dhunoti Shamalam Krishna Salilasya Yata Sharat
Pravishta Karnarandrena Svanam Bhava Saroruham Dunoti Shamalam Krishna Salilasya Yata Sharat
Pravishta Karnarandrena Svanam Bhava Saroruham Dunoti Shamalam Krishna Salilasya Yata Sharat
Pravishta Karnarandrena
Vishtakarnarandrena
Svanambhava Saroruham
Vanam Bhava Suroruham
Dunoti Shamalam Krishna
Vinoti Shamalam Krishna
Salilasya Yata Sharat
Malilasya Yadashara
Pravista Kamna Randrena
Vishtakarnarandrena
Vanambhava Saroruham
Vanam Bhava Suroruham
Dunoti Shamalam Krishna
Dunati Shamalam Krishna
Sarilasya Yata Sarat.
Alilasya Yadashara. Pravishta,
Bhavishta,
thus being entered,
thus being entered,
Karna Randrena,
Karnarandrena,
through the holes of the ears,
through the holes of the ears,
Svanam,
Swanam,
according to one's liberated position,
according to one's liberated position,
Bhava,
Bhava,
constitutional relationship,
constitutional relationship,
Sararuam,
Saharuham,
the lotus flower,
the lotus flower,
Dhunoti,
Dunati,
cleanses,
cleanses,
Shamalam,
Shamalam,
material qualities like lust, anger, avarice, hankering, etc.
material qualities like lust, anger, avarice, and anchoring.
Krishna,
Krishna,
Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead,
Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead,
Salilasya,
Salilasya,
of the reservoir of waters,
of the reservoir of waters,
Yata,
Yata,
as it were,
as it were,
Sharat,
Sharat,
the autumn season.
the autumn season.
Translation. The sound incarnation of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Soul, i.e. Srimad Bhagavatam, entering into the heart of a self-realized devotee, sits on the lotus flower of his loving relationship and thus cleanses the dust of material association, such as lust, anger, hankerings, etc., and acts like the autumnal rains upon the pools of muddy water. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. It is said that a single pure devotee of the Lord can deliver all the fallen souls of the world, and thus one who is actually in the confidence of a pure devotee like Narada or Shukadev Goswami, and thus empowered by one's spiritual master, as Narada was by Brahmaji, can not only deliver himself from the clutches of Maya or illusion, but can deliver the whole world by his pure and empowered devotional strength. The comparison to the autumnal rain, which falls on the muddy reservoirs of water, is very appropriate. During the rainy season, all waters of the rivers become muddy, but in the month of July and August, the autumn season, when there is a slight rainfall, the muddy waters of the rivers all over the world become at once clear. By addition of some chemical, a small reservoir of water, like that one of the Metropolitan Waterworks tanks, etc., can be cleared. But by such a tiny effort, it is not possible to clear up all the reservoirs of water like the rivers, etc. Similarly, a powerful pure devotee of the Lord can deliver not only his personal self, but also many others in his association. In other words, the cleansing of the polluted heart by other methods, like culture of empiric knowledge or mystic gymnastics, can simply cleanse one's own heart. But devotional service to the Lord is so powerful that it can cleanse the hearts of the people in general. By the devotional service of the pure empowered devotee, a true representative of the Lord like Narada, Shukadev Goswami, Lord Chaitanya, the six Goswamis, and later Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur or Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, can deliver all people by their empowered devotional service. By sincere efforts to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, one realizes his constitutional relationship with the Lord in the transcendental humor of servitude, friendship, paternal affection, or conjugal love. And by such self-realization, one becomes situated at once in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. All such pure devotees like Narada were not only self-realized souls, but they were engaged in preaching work automatically by spiritual impetus. And thus they delivered many poor souls entangled in the material modes. They became so powerful because they sincerely followed the Bhagavatam principles by regularly hearing and worshipping. By such actions, the accumulated material lusts, etc., become cleansed by the personal endeavor of the Lord within the heart. The Lord is always within the heart of the living being, but he becomes manifested by one's devotional service. Purification of the heart by culture of knowledge or mystic yoga may be all right for the time being for an individual person, but it is like cleansing the stagnant water in small quantity by chemical processes. Such clarification of water may stand for the time being, and the sediments may settle down, but by a slight agitation, everything becomes muddy. The idea is that devotional service to the Lord is the only method of cleansing the heart for good, whereas other methods may be superficially good for the time being. There is a risk of becoming muddy again due to agitation of the mind. Devotional service to the Lord, with specific attention for hearing Srimad Bhagavatam regularly and always, is the best recommended method for liberation from the clutches of illusion. Jai Shri Prabhupada, Jai Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Shrapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yudapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinavando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Panchakalpatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namaste Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyati Stani. So I'll read the translation again. The sound incarnation of the Lord, the Supreme Soul, entering into the heart of a self-realized devotee, sits on the lotus flower of his loving relationship and thus cleanses the dust of material association, such as lust, anger, hankering, etc., and acts like the autumnal rains upon the pools of muddy water. So I'm appreciating so much the vivid and beautiful poetry of this verse. It gives us such a powerful metaphor, and there's such deep philosophy, beauty, and enjoyment in just reading this verse, and that's the essence of this divine vibration, of this transcendental knowledge that's being given to us. Its beauty is undeniable, and it's the depth of truth within it is found within each word, within each mantra, within each verse. So for me, a verse like this really reminds me of that. Sometimes I become numb to it, and then a verse like this, like, wow. So yeah, here Maharaj Parikshit is inquiring to Shukadev Goswami about he wants to hear more. He wants to hear more. He wants to continue this conversation. He wants to continue hearing about Krishna and about supreme truth. And so he continues inquiring. And here we're being given an insight about the sound incarnation of the Supreme Soul. And in the translation, at least in my book, it says I.e. Srimad Bhagavatam, when it says Lord Krishna, the Supreme Soul. So it's telling us it's non-different. The Srimad Bhagavatam is non-different than Lord Shri Krishna. It's non-different than the Supreme Soul within the universe, within all of creation, within each atom, within each one of you, within me. So the Srimad Bhagavatam is non-different in its potency and its purity and its ability to cleanse our heart and to prepare it for Krishna to take a seat in that lotus. So yeah, this sound incarnation, this Nam avatar, this Harinam avatar, like the name of the Lord incarnate. So what is Srila Prabhupada talks about avatar? Avatar is coming down, that which is transcending dimensions of reality, that which is transcending all barriers, all firewalls, all blockages of our heart, that which is coming in and manifesting itself so that we can begin to take hold, so that this incarnation of this vibration, this transcendental vibration coming directly from transcendental abode, complete spiritual reality, and it's coming into our hearts, coming into it's meeting us where we're at in this mundane reality, and it's completely there. And depending on where we're at, where our qualification is, what the state of our consciousness is, we can see it for what it is. We can see Krishna and his name. But regardless of where we are, the effect is taking place. This incarnation has supreme potency. So there's benefit regardless of whether, we get a lot of realization every time we chant or listen to the Bhagavatam, regardless of whether we're enjoying it or whether it's triggering us or bringing things up. Behind all those layers of our experience, there's a powerful process happening of purification, because we're directly connecting with Krishna through these words, through this teaching, through chanting the Mahamantra. So what is for me, this brings up the question, like, what is kirtan? What is sometimes it's easy to think of kirtan as music, and we can say like spiritual music. Nowadays kirtan is becoming like more and more popular, which is great. And at the same time, I think it's even more important to stress and for us to remind ourselves in the world, what is this kirtan, as it's being given to us by those who are really in kirtan, who are not just performing music, making us feel good through that connection, and there's sweetness that happens regardless of how we're doing kirtan. But what is kirtan in its deepest and purest level, and why is it so important to our evolution of consciousness, to our clearing of our hearts? So reading transcendental literature, those words, that vibration, which is meant to lift our spirit, which is meant to speak directly to our spirit, not to our senses, it's not a vibration that's meant for us to enjoy, just like listening to a commercial about the newest fast food item, or listening to a podcast about an interesting history topic. That vibration might be there to entertain our intellect. It might be there to entertain our tongue, our eyes, the different vibrations that are meant for different purposes. But kirtan is that vibration which is meant to pierce all the way into the essence of our being, and awaken that essence, and awaken the relationship that we have within our essence and that supreme soul, Sri Krishna. So that vibration can take so many forms. It can take the form of hearing a lecture from someone who is in that vibration, who is tuned in to that devotional realization and relationship with Krishna, like Srila Prabhupada. It can look like reading the Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Gita, the Chaitanya Charitamrita. It can look like singing bhajans by Bhaktivinoda Thakur and other realized souls, and tuning into their moods of love, of separation, of humility. So this kirtan can look so many ways, but that essence of piercing, of relating directly with our essence, and awakening bhakti, awakening our deepest nature to be in a loving exchange of servitude with the supreme being, that is kirtan. So all things are vibrating. This world is in constant flux. We're always experiencing the vibrations of our thoughts in our mind. In the yogic tradition, it's like vrittis, or like these shifts, changes, where we look at it at an atomic level. Everything's constantly moving, shifting. And based on where we're at, we relate to those vibrations. We create an experience, we create judgments around them, and we have an experience that might be good or bad. And based on the state of our consciousness, how tamasic I am, how lethargic am I, how much am I wanting to kind of be resigned, covered up, passive in my life, or how rajasic, how passionate, how much intensity, kind of creative passion is driving me, or how much am I in clarity, in goodness, in balance, in stability. Then we relate differently, and we put out different vibrations. So then, by familiarizing ourselves with the vibration of the Bhagavatam, by familiarizing ourselves with the vibration of the holy names through the Mahamantra, then they begin to, like a tuning fork. We have all this noise, we have all this vibration all around us, within us, and then we can start to tune in to that, and start to, at first it might be a little jarring because we're putting out so much and we already have so much inside, but it starts to harmonize, and I don't have many realizations, but I know that the more that I chant, the more that I read, and the more that I'm okay with like stagnancy in my spiritual life, triggers in my spiritual life, and the more I just continue in the process without jumping out or something, then that those initial discords eventually like harmonize, and philosophical apparent philosophical contradictions, or triggers that I have about things that are said a certain way or something, like somehow they begin to harmonize, they begin to be resolved. We're given more understanding the more we sincerely inquire, the more we sincerely want to listen to this transcendental vibration, the more we can harmonize with it. Then the deeper it reaches, the more transformation happens. And then, yeah, that relationship with the Supreme Soul within us becomes more and more present, becomes more and more clear. And my hope and understanding is that then, there's some faith in this, that the process naturally, as it unfolds, then as we develop more taste, then it's more organic. Then it doesn't feel so like, oh, I gotta chant my rounds, and like I gotta wake up early, and it feels like that for me often. But like I know the more I'm sincerely devoted to being in this vibration, pushing myself to come to a Bhagavatam class, listen to a lecture, chant, then that becomes more flowing, it becomes more organic. We've developed a higher taste, and we, vibrations that may have like turned us off before become more attractive, and vibrations that before were maybe really entertaining but not fully satisfying just start becoming irrelevant. We lose taste for certain material activities and material engagements that drain us. We become more aware of those things. So entering into this vibration of the Bhagavatam, of hearing directly from the pure devotee like Srila Prabhupada, tuning into the essence. There's a conversation, and I think it's in Science of Self-Realization, between Srila Prabhupada and a doctor, some scientist, and Srila Prabhupada's talking about, the scientist is talking about like observing the natural world and like basically like dissecting things, better understanding of things. And Srila Prabhupada talks about, basically like knowledge for knowledge's sake is like, it's kind of pointless. Not kind of, it's pointless. And then he does mention like, but if we really have sincerity and the intention to really understand and connect with the Supreme Source, with Krishna, then yes, like even by looking at a single blade of grass, if we really tune in to the vibration coming from that blade of grass and to the essence of that blade of grass, then there's the Mahamantra in there, there's Krishna in there, there's, within that, the essence of that, and Srila Prabhupada calls it Atmagya, like understanding of the soul, understanding of the atomic soul within that piece of grass, within each being, and understanding its relationship with the whole, with Krishna. So then that's real knowledge. So to see that within each thing is just this vibrating, chanting, this divine vibration is going on underneath so many layers of illusion, so many blocks. That's real knowledge. So often we might try to, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is mentioning basically like yamas and niyamas and yogic practices. He says mystic gymnastics, which is funny, culture of empiric knowledge. So these are different processes by which one can definitely clear their consciousness, elevate their consciousness, begin to vibrate at a level that's more harmonious within themselves, with others. These processes are bona fide. Jnana Yoga, the Ashtanga Yoga system, they definitely have an effect. Vipassana, all these things are powerful tools. And yet, Prabhupada and our acharyas make a point that the supremacy of bhakti is that it's permanent. Like, because bhakti is what is within us at its core, at the core, essentially, we are that relationship of devotion. We are that loving exchange with our Supreme Father, our Supreme Lord. So if we impose rules and regulations for the sake of just feeling better, or for the sake of rules and regulations, or for the sake of looking good spiritually, then we might get some advancement, but eventually, because that's not at the essence what we are, we're not someone trying to look good, we're not someone who's really good at being disciplined, that's not like our core essence. Those are qualities we can manifest, but because it's not essentially who we are, then naturally, like, we can get swept away into other things. So we might, get lifetimes of peace, might get a few years of balance, stability from doing a lot of asanas and mindfulness meditation, all these things, and that's great. But what Srila Prabhupada is trying to give us, and our acharyas are trying to give us, are like, okay, those things are fine, but if you really want long-lasting peace, long-lasting bliss, long-lasting joy, then dedicate yourself to this path of bhakti, to uncovering your true nature. So Haranam, Haranam, Haranam eva kevalam, kalo nasteva, nasteva, nasteva katiranyata. Only Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, only by this Harinam, only through this vibration, in this age, especially in this age where there's so much quarrel, hypocrisy within ourselves, at least for myself, I know this is true, and then within the world, like, that vibration, which is the essence of reality, which is Krishna himself, is the only thing that can, like, wake us up to our own truth permanently. Let's see. So now a lot of people talk about, like, being present and, like, mindful nowadays, and, like, tuning into the present. And that's so important, because that's like that atma-gya, like, understanding of, like, what is spirit, what is matter. It's so important to be present, because so often, we're in our heads, or hankering for something in the past or in the future. We're a little, lost to what's really happening. And when we're lost to what's really happening in front of us, then we don't have that, like, opportunity to really connect with the essence, with Krishna, beyond, the circumstance. There's Krishna under there. So if we're present, then there's a higher chance that we can actually engage in a devotional way in our lives. And at the same time, like, a lot of people talk about presence and focus, but they don't talk about God in a personal way. They don't talk about our relationship with Bhagavan, with the Supreme Personality. And so for me, I'm saying, like, well, that's kind of missing out in, like, the deepest presence and the deepest focus. Because if we're in denial of that relationship with the Supreme Personality, then we can't ever actually be fully present. We're still, like, on some subtle level, we're not tuning into who is that really. Like, when this person is speaking to me, or when I'm feeling like this, or when I'm seeing the sunset, like, what is the innermost vibration? What is the essence of all this? Who's behind all of this? That's Krishna. So without acknowledging Krishna, we can't, like, really fully be present with what's really happening. Krishna is I've read, like, Krishna is the only vastu, like, the only real entity is Krishna. And, he expands infinitely, and his manifestations are, different incarnations, and the creation that we see, each one of us, we're a part and parcel of that Supreme Being. There's only Krishna. And so if we're not willing to be open to that personality who is within us, who is everything, and who has his own form, his own qualities, his own desires, if we're negating that, then how can we fully be present? And how can we really invite divinity to manifest itself fully in our lives, where, you know, our hearts might be a little cluttered with, you know, Krishna's there, Krishna's always seated within us, Paramatma is there guiding us. But I think of it like, yeah, there's all this clutter, like Rupa Goswami says, all the weeds in our heart. So Krishna's there, but maybe he's like, I don't know where to sit. There's like all these thoughts and all these desires, and so yeah, how do we make it a beautiful? How do we make our hearts a beautiful lotus flower? Like Krishna, like it's like, oh wow, like I want to sit here. I really like. I want to. This person like really wants to receive me and serve me, and then naturally Krishna wants to serve us, and like then that relationship is complete. So it's, sometimes spiritual life can look heavy, it can look tedious, but essentially we're trying to make a really beautiful seat for God to just come and sit, and like, all right, great. So the pure devotee in this purport, it talks about the pure devotee and the power of the pure devotee. So Srila Prabhupada, Acharyas, Jesus, Muhammad, they can all like snap their finger, and because they're all like directly in relationship with Krishna, because they're fully realized beings, like if they wanted to, Krishna would just liberate everyone. If they wanted, by their own power, they could liberate everyone. So that's the power of the pure devotees, and the pure devotees have liberated everyone. It's just a matter of perception and time. So Advaita Acharya, he prays for Lord Chaitanya to come because he's so compassionate, he's so pure, he sees the suffering of mankind, and he prays for Lord Chaitanya to come and to save us. And so by his own sincerity, by the purity of his heart, by his power, Krishna himself is coming as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is starting the Sankirtan, this vibration. He's re-inaugurating that which is eternal, which is the spreading of this vibration of this essential truth of the real beauty, reality, the beautiful, our direct connection and relationship with Krishna. So he's reviving that. He's reviving that in Navadvip and Mayapur, and he's asking his friends, he's hey, spread this, go spread this, go spread this, go spread this vibration. So we get to be a part of that, and all we need to do is open ourselves to receive, and then share that which we're receiving, share in that vibration, share in reading, because the whole point of Sankirtan is together. Srila Prabhupada says Kirtan is alone, Sankirtan is together. So why is this like togetherness so important? It's like this vibration, it needs a room. It needs many rooms to go through and touch, and the flavor increases, and by doing it together, we support each other. We create a vessel for this sound vibration to have its maximum potential to purify us the most. So we support each other in this Sankirtan, in this congregational chanting and congregational reading. We support ourselves, and we create a chamber for this vibration to travel and to purify, and we get to add our perspective, we share our experience, we share our realizations, and it becomes sweeter. And Krishna says in the Gita, Machita Madgata Bodhayantas Parasparam Gatayantas Chumam Nityam Tushanti Charamam Ticha. So like those that are in that loving relationship with Krishna, those who love Krishna, they can't stop talking about Krishna. They want to just always bathe themselves in the beauty of Krishna. They want to worship Krishna with every word, with every thought. So, there's, on one end, there's the gopis who are, constantly in that vibration, and they're enjoying so much in serving Krishna completely, rebelliously. There's no impediments, and then there's, on the other side, someone like me who, I'm struggling in Maya, And if I try to do this alone, if I'm just like, well, all the guidance is within me, all the knowledge is within me, and I can just go, I'm just going to go meditate, chant in a cave somewhere, then Maya like just laughs at that. You know, it's like, look at this guy, he's all alone, I'm just going to grab him. And of course, like the vibrations in my mind and our conditioned senses, we're looking for that. We're here because we have those desires. We want Maya to be like, hey, like I've got this new little treat for you. And so alone, we're so susceptible to just, and suddenly we're so lost again in all this conditioning. So Sankirtan, together in this vibration, we support each other, we can move forward. It's so protective. Sadhu Sangha is like the most powerful shelter to do Sankirtan, to be in this relationship with devotees and others, with the pure devotee and with others, tuning into this frequency, into this vibration, uplifting all of us. So all we need to do is tune in. Srila Prabhupada, our acharyas, they're fully realized, they're always on that channel. And so it's up to us to just want to turn that channel on, and then really we don't do anything else. And it's so it's receiving, it's that shravanam kirtanam. So first, cultivating that desire to receive, to listen to that vibration, to listen to the chanting of the holy name, to listen to the Gita, to listen to the Srimad Bhagavatam. Cultivating that by doing more of it, by making that effort to cleanse our heart. And this is the most confidential knowledge. Raja Vidya Rajaguyam Pavitramidam Uttamam Pratakshama Kamam Dharmam Susukam Kartamaryam. This is the most confidential vibration. It's that secret vibrating within every blade of grass, all the whispers. It's all about Krishna. It's all about that sambandha, that relationship that we have with Krishna. That's what Krishna is trying to give us. That's what he's giving us, and it's just up to us. That's what Srila Prabhupada is giving us. It's just up to us to say, oh, I want to be in on that secret. That secret, that's the real secret to joy, to happiness, to fulfillment. So just tuning into that. I was reminded of Henry David Thoreau. He writes in the back of the original Gita, there's like a quote by him where he's saying, in the morning I bathe my intellect in
cosmogonal or something.
Yeah, cosmogonal philosophy of the Bhagavad Gita, in comparison which our modern world and its literature seem puny and trivial. So that's why morning program is so important, because it's like the first vibrations of the day. What are we putting in? The world and its mundane trivialness wants to just put in so many seemingly important things that are just going to end up distracting us. They're just going to end up creating more suffering, more dissatisfaction. So in the morning especially, tuning into this vibration of the Mahamantra, Nrsingadev prayers, of chanting, of reading the Srimad Bhagavatam is so important, because it sets our minds, our hearts up to tune in to reality, to tune in to Krishna, to tune in to opportunities to serve, to listen, to remember. So that's all we're being asked to do, is to tune in. Hare Krishna, Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Happy to receive any comments, questions.
Hare Krishna, I'm touched and moved by your presentation. Thank you, Narayan. And I really like the tuning fork analogy. That works in deep ways. And then I'm inspired by what you shared about presence, because that's just like it's like an emerging principle in any spiritual practice, personal growth, new age, present, experience my experience, empathy. It's all about presence with ourselves, presence with others. And so, so that's there, like more and more people are just directly appreciating the principle of presence. And then, in some ways, that's a sort of Brahma-Goti sort of realization, to the extent that I can be present without hankering for the future, lamenting for the past. It's a sort of Brahma-Goti realization. And I like this point. It's fresh. Like that, okay, the foundation, the substratum of all presence, like in the heart of the atom, in the heart of all living entities, the foundation of all presence, of all existence, this is Sri Krishna. And so if we're ignorant of that aspect of presence, if we're disregarding the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then our capacity for presence is really limited, even superfluous. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Prabhu. Insight and encouragement.
Hare Krishna, thank you for the class today. I just wanted to share this beautiful image that was coming to me as you were sharing your class today. I almost saw like, okay, Krishna is in the heart of all living beings, and for many it's almost like Krishna is asleep. And then when we chant, when we read, when we sing, I could kind of see like Krishna is waking up and becoming happier and happier and happier. And then as Krishna becomes happier, it's like, okay, the size of Krishna within us maybe doesn't change, but this aura and this light, it emanates brighter and brighter and brighter. And then it's like that light, that is what, for me, I'd like go, oh yeah, that's what awakens Krishna in the hearts of others as well. And it's just this beautiful image of the lotus in the heart and Krishna, maybe asleep, and sometimes, and when we're, singing and reading, Krishna is becoming happier. And I kind of feel like, oh, I really want to make Krishna like alive and happy and dancing in my heart. And it's kind of like, oh, my relationship with Krishna, how do I do that? And yeah, that image really excites me. And it's kind of like I was in the question, like, am I waking up or am I waking Krishna up inside of me? So I have lots of questions that have come off the back of your class and this beautiful image. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that with us. It's really beautiful, and I'm appreciating your enthusiasm and vibrance around it. And yeah, I think there's like, kind of both are happening. Like Krishna, of course, is never an illusion or never asleep in a sense. We're definitely the ones like choosing to be pretty asleep and in illusion. And at the same time, my understanding is that, the more we're listening to Paramatma, the more that we're engaging in listening to the spiritual master and listening to Shabda Brahman, then Krishna is more wanting to be a part of that. There's more of a dialogue instead of us like always being like, what is this voice and what is this intuition, and like I just want to enjoy. When we start receiving Krishna, then Krishna, of course, is excited to share more. So I do think there's Krishna becoming more and more excited to be in that relationship with us.
Yeah, thank you.
There's a really beautiful song that I've heard a lot in Vrindavan that they sing to Radharaman, which is one of my favorite deities of Krishna. It's like Jago Mohana Pyari. They sing it every morning to like wake him up And it's the song that they say, like, the coward boys sing to Krishna in the morning to wake him up. And I think that's so sweet because, yeah, I mean, also Krishna does sleep. Like, Krishna has his schedule and his Leela, you know, Krishna is sleeping and his intimate friends are waking him up sweetly like that. So for me, that's also, it's like, okay, I'm not there at all, but just hearing that is like, oh, like that also adds some sweetness to my process. And it's like, yeah, just like asking Krishna to wake up more, to wake me up more essentially, but also just that relationship is so sweet.
Yeah, very, very enlivening discussion. And just to give I'll call it a rather negative perspective. Not just, yeah, we're inspiring Krishna to be happy in his situation in our heart. And then there's, in the Bhagavad Gita, it's described that, like, if we act foolishly, like really alienated from self, then it's actually described that we torture Krishna within the heart. It's a very heavy word, but like we're really giving pain to Krishna when we act foolishly. And Super Soul, Krishna as Super Soul, allows us to choose. That's the foundation of love, free choice. And then when we act not in our true self-interest, for self-realization and love of God, then it's said that we're actually giving pain. Torture is actually the word used. And so Krishna, of course, like the pure devotee of Krishna, is self-satisfied Atma Rama. At the same time, Krishna is really, we add to his bliss when we act in self-realization and devotion, and we're actually giving him pain. We're giving him pain when we act stupidly, foolishly against the actual, as I like how you said that in the class, Narayan, the permanent nature of the soul. Like, to do austerities, that can be part of the process, and to try to focus the mind. But the permanent nature of the soul is bhakti, which includes sense control and all of that. And so when we act contrary to the permanent, eternal, enduring nature of the soul, then so like it's a real relationship, just like with like a parent. My parent might be completely satisfied, fulfilled in their life. They have a very active life and in business and career and relationships, and still their child, whether it's a teenage child, adult child, can add to their pleasure, or their child can act in a way where it's like, this is very unfortunate, this is very painful to see how you're ruining your life. So yeah, so I just want to share that dimension to add to the discussion.
Yeah, thanks for that. For me, it makes so much sense. Like, just, I think we can all empathize with caring deeply about someone, wanting to share something with them, and then just being so closed off to us, being like a brick wall, you know, and just kind of stubbornly maybe hurting themselves, and we want to serve them, we want to help, and it just feels so like hopeless, and that's like definitely pretty torturous. And thinking about Krishna, and like Krishna is like the most compassionate, and so he cares so much about us, and yeah, he's aloof and detached from us, and simultaneously he cares so much that it's so painful to see us just like be so lost and stubborn and wanting to listen to a certain, you know, to our thoughts, and just want to like enjoy and constantly hurt ourselves, when all he wants is for us to like really enjoy and be in that relationship with him. Gajendra, you raised your hand.
Yes. So I'm not sure I have any real knowledge in the matter, but I can express my thoughts and that come up, and maybe questions related to it. I'm thinking about, as far as Krishna's feelings, and then I'm looking from my perspective as a very conditioned jiva soul and trying to contemplate the feelings and experiences of, an unlimited soul source, original, full being. And I'm aware that, there's very different expansions of the personality of Godhead. Like, I'm not so arrogant to think that, like, because I'm a mischievous, no good soul, that, Krishna's missing the rasa dance tonight because he's obsessing over me and where I'm at. And so I'm just looking at, like, well, yeah, wow, Krishna is there in Krishna Loka or wherever he wants, doing the rasa dance and fully present with many, many people. And as was indicated earlier here, he's in our hearts in the various levels of expansion where he's present as the Paramatma, the super soul, where he can be fully present with every being. But yeah, I'm just pondering his, I believe it's one of the 6 detachments, is one of the 6 opulences. And, I'm appreciating his detachment aspect and his ability at the same time to be fully present and feel and reciprocate our individuality. And I also wanted to, as I was listening to this discussion about, Krishna, and I think to some sense there was an appeal to our spirituality, even our humanity, not to be condescendingly compassionate on Krishna for maybe choosing to be stuck with us for all eternity but to, there's a focus on Krishna, but it caused me to ponder guru. And this is a little bit of a change of subject, but it did connect for me in wondering, do you have any thoughts or comments about the idea of guru taking on, like, the sins or burdens of disciples? I think there's like maybe some type of caution in the Vedas, for example, for a spiritual master not to take on so many, disciples. Or there's even, I don't know if it's meant to be a guilt head trip or what, but, if you take initiation from the guru, he takes on your sins. And if you continue to sin or something like that, you will get sick. Are you familiar with these types of thoughts?
Yeah, I've definitely heard all of those things and various things related to them. I wouldn't say my understanding of the subject is super shastric or deep or in any way. So yeah, I get maybe what you're asking is how much responsibility does a guru take? How much is what is their role in kind of as that via medium between us and Krishna and our offenses and sins and reactions? How much are they interacting and taking on some of those reactions?
Yeah, for me, as I was listening to about Krishna, I just couldn't help but make a connection in my mind that this seems to, in my mind, it somehow has some kind of connection. And I was just wondering if there was any thought or comment about it.
Yeah, well, my thoughts, and I would love to hear from someone else who has some knowledge around this, but I'll share first that in this verse and purport, and it talks about that power of bhakti, of deep, with uttama bhakti, of that which is present in the pure devotee, being a touchstone, like purifying, just like we're given this image of the rain falling into little puddles and clearing out all the impurities. So for a Mahabhagavat, for a pure devotee on the level, of Srila Prabhupada, then my understanding is, like Srila Prabhupada can take all of our sins. Jesus take sins of his disciples like that. They can do things like that. And no, I don't think it has to affect them in any way. Like you mentioned, like getting, affected by that. So I don't think that, I think there's a puniness to our like sins in relation to the power and purity, that force within someone at that stage of consciousness, at that level of devotion, realization. And at the same time, I think there's always their intention in their service. They might manifest certain things in order to teach something, in order to move us further. Yeah, that's what came up for me. I'm not sure I addressed all parts of that, but I'll be glad to hear more.
Thank you. I appreciate it, and really enjoyed hearing from your class this morning.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Your response, Narayan, is consistent with my understanding. It sounds shastric to me, and and just like Gajendra Prabhu shared that that we can be the source of pain for Krishna. That doesn't mean that he's not blissful in the rasa dance at this moment, or etc. And so it's similar with the pure devotee guru, spiritual master, and we emphasize that point, pure devotee, spiritual master, because that's Prabhupada uses that term a lot, transparent by a medium. So first of all, this whole idea of taking on karma, any leadership position, like if we're a parent, if we're a school teacher, if we're the director of a company, if we're supervising a sales team, we're taking on karma. We're taking on karma. So any leadership position where, it's guru nasasya, it's vajano nasasya, namochaya samopeta mitru, that in any position, any service, any role where others are taking shelter, others are dependent on us in some way, we're taking karma. And so similarly, if it's a spiritual guru thing, and to the extent that the soul who has others taking shelter in them is not pure, then there's not that transparent via media, and then it is disruptive for their spiritual life. That's a major caution. So for the pure devotee guru, like Srila Prabhupada, the Paramparas and our Acharya, then similarly, they're whatever we do, and I like how you said, like whatever terrible sins we can commit and we've committed, it's kind of puny compared to the power of Bhagavatam, the power of the grace of Guru and Krishna. At the same time, whatever we do, they are ecstatic and blissful in their service to Krishna. We're not disrupting that. Still, just as you said, but still, they might manifest because of our nonsense. Once we've taken shelter and we've committed ourselves as a disciple, they might manifest some physical illness or something like that. And in the heart, we can be the source of pain, just as a child of a parent, because like there are our spiritual parent, and we can cause them pain, and that might in their pastime, they might manifest in some physical illness or something like that. So I appreciate your response.
Yeah, thanks. I found it really grounding when you bring it into, you know, practical examples of leadership roles and the accountability there. Naturally, there's responsibility and karma being taken on if one has, you know, dependents, let's say, or those who are acting on their behalf in a certain way, like a child, the parent to the child, the CEO to their employees, and the actions of a company. And I think one thing that brought up for me that I wanted to share was like, yeah, the importance of that pure devotee, of someone that is tuned in only to like that desire to serve Krishna. Because if there's any other desire, then yeah, like that karma, those reactions like are gonna create real consequence and like chaos, because there's like karma being accrued for that person already. They're in the karmic cycle. But a pure devotee isn't in a karmic cycle. They're like completely transcendental to that. So there's really nothing for them to, you know, take on. But yeah, like they might manifest so many things for the sake of their mission. Gajendra, do you have your hand raised again?
Yes. I appreciated your responding and the further response from David Dira. So I feel like I'm getting, you know, getting nourishment from it. And what came to me was, you know, how I don't, you know, don't want to use it as sort of like an avoidance. Like, let me just shift the subject to what's going on for Krishna and Guru. And I appreciated like you reintroducing the word puny in relation to that, because yeah, no matter like, so, you know, Krishna and Guru are connected to thousands or millions, an unlimited number of people. I'm probably not going to be the straw that breaks the Godhead's back. Like, gosh, if I just, you know, wouldn't have done that today. And, you know, I'm really very, very inconsequential in the larger scheme things. Like, and one from that view, like almost non-existent and consequential. But ignoring like God and others and sort of bringing back the reality of myself, it's actually hugely important, you know, that I take that 100% full responsibility for my experience of my relationship, you know, with the Godhead. So in that sense, it intensely matters, you know, into the minutia of what I'm doing with my consciousness, my body, my mind, and my service. And so, yeah, I just felt like as I'm listening to that, I'm going like, I don't want to like move, you know, sort of ignore my part in it, because that's what it's about, by like shifting it to like, yeah, like, you know, does it really matter what I'm doing or not? Yeah, it in one sense, it does. You know, when we think of our unique role as a part of reality, like that idea, you know, for example, you, Narayan, just nobody but you can play the role of all these zillions of living entities. Only you can deal with this one part and parcel of Krishna and fulfill Krishna in this matter. So I didn't want to ignore that part of it, you know, by shifting the subject more cosmologically. But yeah, all right, well.
Boy, yeah, I hear a lot of like clarity and empowerment in what you're sharing. Like I've experienced you as really powerful when you come from that place of responsibility. Sounds like really, yeah, like a very grounded and powerful place to live from, taking into account that responsibility in our relationship with Krishna. There's a beautiful story in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita of Krishna like receiving Krishna's playing with Balaram, the cowherd boys, and a newly liberated Gopa comes and he's walking towards them, and Balaram's like, "Who's this?" Krishna like immediately embraces him, crying, and like they faint from ecstasy, and everyone's like, "Who is this? We don't even know who this is. Strangers, totally random." And then Krishna is telling him, "Oh, I've missed you so much. I've been there the whole time. I've been, wanting this moment for so long." So like, I'm paraphrasing all this, but yeah, this for me, it's important it's like this Achinta Beta Beta Tattva. Like Krishna is, Atmarama, completely self-satisfied, aloof from all of this and my craziness, while at the same time so compassionate and so caring about each relationship with all part and parcels of himself.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Anyone else before we go? All right, thank you all so much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.